The concept of race swapping has been a very contentious issue for a lot of people that consume entertainment, primarily on the right, as I'm sure you could guess. But be that as it may, I have a take on this that I think people both on the right and the left might not really like that much. But in any case, let's get to it. So I came across this article recently entitled Race Matters Only When It Fits Their Narrative. Marvel Studios blasted for reportedly casting Mexican actress Eiza Gonzalez as Greek character Elektra in Daredevil Born Again. Apologies for any mispronunciations I may do here. And I want to point out this is from Fandom Wire, all around a pretty good source for just kind of updating people on what's going on and things like with, superhero stuff, kind of nerd culture as it were, and just celebrities and stuff in general as we can see here, right? Movies, TV, it kind of covers the whole basis right here in these tags at the top. Now, this was done, this article was written 2 months ago, it looks like, or at least published 2 months ago, by Vasarg Asharia. I'm sorry, I'm gonna mispronounce all of these words. Let's get the most obvious thing out of the way here, especially as we tackle the concept of race swapping and all that. I am super white. All right, I am a extremely white cis het male. So with that in mind, I'm aware that there may absolutely be blind spots in this that I'm not even aware of myself. So if there's anything that you would like to, correct me on or anything like that, feel free. If there's more education I need to do, so to speak, on these kind of things, go for it. But I want to give my take on this as is because I just felt like it was something worth talking about. But yeah, as you go through this person's articles, we have Black Adam's Dr. Fate just copied Injustice game without you noticing. We have articles in general about Black Adam has all the ingredients of an international hit. DC fans convinced the Rock movie will be a hit. It wasn't, by the way. A hit overseas after domestic collections hit only a decent 26.8 million. That is really low for movie standards. So it looks like they cover a decent amount of nerd culture, you could say, specifically, right? So I want to point out, just starting here, no, disrespect or kind of hate or anything geared toward the author of the article or anything like that whatsoever. But let's get into the article itself here. Marvel has been under the spotlight for quite some time, with fans blasting the entertainment giant for several reasons. The most recent one is due to casting a Mexican actress to play a Greek character. Eiza Gonzalez has been cast as Elektra in the upcoming Daredevil series, Daredevil Born Again, and the fans cried out racism, as Elektra is a Greek character. Here we have a picture of Eiza. Eiza Gonzalez is a Mexican actress playing a Greek character. Okay, it is pretty common practice to portray several characters that belong to a particular heritage with someone that doesn't belong in it. Fans have called out several companies for doing this practice and calling it race swapping that harms the other party. That's based on your interest. Gonzalez is a Mexican actress who is allegedly portraying the role of Elektra in the upcoming series Daredevil Born Again. The catch is that the Mexican-born actress will be portraying the Greek character of Elektra, and that made some people tick off. It sounds like they literally just wrote the same thing multiple times, so okay. In any case, so we have people... By the way, none of these tweets were liked or replied to by me. I don't know why it has this little filled in heart and filled in reply thing, but I guess that's just how... When tweets are on websites like this, they're embedded, so maybe that has something to do with it. But I want to point out, so we have, where are the progressive voices calling out this blatant racism? Eiza Gonzalez isn't Greek. This is robbing a Greek actress of an opportunity. Now, I don't know if this is satire or if they're being genuine, so let's actually find out. The Star Killer. Star Wars fan, comic collector, D&D enjoyer, player, she/her. Okay, maybe they are someone who's more progressive. If we check out some of the... And I want to make it perfectly clear on all this stuff, guys. None of these people, the author here, the person, these Twitter users. None of them are meant to be like gone after or blamed for any of this. But I do want to discuss some in general express your gender identity. Children know they're trans, seemingly from the womb. Wouldn't this mean they're thinking and self-aware in the womb? Is it okay to okay? Christmas too hard. You're ignoring. Whatever your opinion, ask yourself: can anything be presented that would change your mind? If yes, then watch. If no, don't. It's a waste of time. I want to see more Jedi designs lean this hard into the samurai inspiration. I don't personally, but it's pretty cool. Hassan Piker had a blog where he called himself the Brofessor, talks about being an alpha male in pornography before he put on the leftist persona to stream to Twitch. Andrew Tate is such a misogynist while calling women sluts who crave attention. Okay, so I can tell by these persons' tweets. We've got some LMAO, Lauren Boebert baited the blue checks into. Okay, so I guess they're a trans person, unless this is something where they're like making fun of trans people, and yet they're clearly very they're not progressive, as we can tell by some of these things. They're pretty anti-Hassan. They're clearly anti-abortion. They have all these different takes. They're clearly supporting Lauren Boebert here. So, and notice though, this tweet only has 7 likes anyway. So even if they were being sincere, which they're not, there's only 7 tweets there. In fact, let's look at the replies. Gal Gadot isn't Greek either, but you don't hear people lighting their hair. I'm sorry. Okay, Gal Gadot isn't Greek either, but you don't hear people lighting their hair on fire for her playing a Greek demigoddess, and neither Jennifer Garner nor Eddie Ewing were Greek, and Elodie played a phenomenal Elektra, if I'm pronouncing that right. I bet these same folks don't have a problem with the biggest race swap in history. True, yeah. Just to be super clear, and we'll get into this in a moment, but there is a historical precedent for people, including religious figures like Jesus Christ of Nazareth, being portrayed as white. Jesus was not white with blue eyes. He might have had brown hair. He probably had some kind of brown hair, right? But there's actually a scientific thing. In fact, let me see if I can find what Jesus would have actually looked like. Okay, yeah. So, because he was a Jewish man, right? You want to talk about race swapping? Well, yeah, this is absolutely like the most famous race swap in history. Now, my view on this, and we'll continue going into these other comments, no, Eiza Gonzalez is Elektra, that's okay, but should Marvel change its name? Elektra is Greek, and it refers to the tragedy of the same name, a daughter seeking revenge after the death of her father. Eiza is beautiful indeed, but doesn't look so Greek to me. So what's the story of Elektra? Elektra is a Greek citizen that meets and falls in love with Matt Murdock and ends up getting killed by Nobu Yoshioka. She is later resurrected by getting exposed to the resurrection elixir to become a character known as the Black Sky. There has been no source given, and there are mere speculations. However, Eiza Gonzalez has gained the spotlight by starring in Michael Bay's Ambulance in 2022. Daredevil, Born Again, yada, 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 just promoting the series. Great, fantastic. So, let's get a few things out of the way. First thing, when people like this person, for example, make these claims, they don't really care. They're just getting outraged for the sake of being outraged. Now, I want to point out, we have Eiza Gonzalez, and obviously, yes, she's a very attractive woman. She's brunette. She fits the role, fits the image of Elektra, generally speaking, because this is what Elektra looks like in the comics. Elektra is generally, yes, I'm prepared here. I have other things to go over. Elektra is generally like this, but in comics, especially in comics, characters are often portrayed with different things like different eye color, slightly different skin tone, different hairstyle, all those different things, because different artists will just draw people in different ways. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, I want to extend an olive branch, I guess, on some ways that I feel about this kind of thing. Because for me personally, the most important things for a character, for a comic character, or any adaptation from one source material to another, is that the characters look the part and that they act the part. So let's look at just comic Daredevil. Or here, we'll do comic. I point this out because, okay, we have the live action, that's great, but I'm looking for the comic. Oh. Alright. This is Matt Murdock in the comics. Matt Murdock has always been played by a man with dark brown or even black hair. Now, I bring this up because I think it's fair if you want to say, okay, well, these characters should look the way they do in the comics, and I agree, Matt Murdock should be played by a ginger. That's just how I think it should be. But that's not the route anyone's ever decided to go for him, which is fine, because when adaptations are done, you are allowed to have different interpretations of these characters. This is not the Matt Murdock and Elektra, the Daredevil and Elektra from the comics. This is Daredevil and Elektra for this new series. They could take a completely different character than Matt Murdock and make him different in general. Hugh Jackman is 6'3". Wolverine is 5'3". There are even images of this, right? If comic Wolverine stood next to Hugh Jackman, there is a major height difference there. Why do I bring these things up? Because artistic liberties have been taken with adaptations forever. And while it can be understandably very jarring at first, it's nothing new. And I'm going to give some examples here of things that originally annoyed me that I eventually got over. My favorite superhero is Spider-Man. And as such, I am very attached to the world of Spider-Man, and that includes the characters of Spider-Man, like Mary Jane. So, Mary Jane before has been portrayed by people like, say, Kirsten Dunst in the 2002 Spider-Man movie all the way to 2007. In 2002, she actually had a red wig, and in 2004 for Spider-Man 2, and for Spider-Man 3 in 2007, she actually dyed her hair ginger. I think she looked better with the wig because she was actually a redhead as opposed to a ginger, but semantics. And that's my point. These are all semantics. These are all things that, while somebody who is heavily invested in this stuff, like myself, might be initially perturbed by, there are things that we can learn to move past and just get over it. This is what Mary Jane typically looks like in the comics. This is MJ in the Marvel MCU. I bring this up because initially this annoyed the hell out of me. I hated that they had, and granted, she's not Mary Jane Watson, she's Michelle Jones, but I hated that they had Mary Jane, who looks like this, be played by a woman who looks like this. She doesn't even have red hair. Obviously, yes, there's the fact that she's black as well, but she doesn't have red hair. Now, for me, it was never a point of, oh, this is I don't know what, blackwashing or whatever people might call it. For me, it was legitimately just a point of, I want to see my favorite characters, especially characters like Mary Jane, which was like a big deal for me growing up. Kind of like the first thing that made me be like, oh, I think I actually really like girls. You know, and that was the comic character of Mary Jane, where seeing them portrayed in a different light was just really off-putting. Some other examples of this are people like one of my favorite, possibly my favorite female superhero, Black Canary. So, this is what she looks like. She tends to look like in the comics. This is what she looked like in her first live-action debut of a movie character. And for a long time, these things and Mary Jane annoyed the hell out of me. In in The Witcher, you had Triss being played by a black woman who was a redhead, at least in the games. I don't really know what she was in the books. But these kind of things really annoy me. Now, points to the live-action Black Canary, at least she's blonde. That is something that I think is good. And to me, yes, these kind of things are important. Now, does it ruin the movie? No. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't even know how it actually is. But you'll have people get up in arms about this stuff, and they don't really care, nor do they actually know anything about these characters. And I'll show you what changed my mind on all of this. Catwoman is not one of my favorites. I've always preferred Shocker from Spider-Man. I've always preferred Felicia Hardy, Black Cat, from the Spider-Man comics, as I have to Catwoman from the Batman comics. But be that as it may, Catwoman is a iconic comic book character from the Batman mythos. She has been in a multitude of different things and has been depicted in a multitude of different ways. And when I saw Batman 2022, and this was our Selina Kyle, originally, I was not happy. But this was the moment that changed all of this for me. I've talked before about how it's really cringe how people got upset about Black Little Mermaid, as it were, Black Ariel. However, I understand where it comes from, and I want to put forth in good faith how people can come to these types of opinions, and like how they can be moved away from this idea that like race swapping is inherently bad. So I was very annoyed by this. Not because it was some idea of, oh, they're replacing white people. No, nothing like that. Just, look, Catwoman looks like this. Whoops, where is she? Catwoman looks like this, not this. Now, Catwoman has been done many different times in many different ways. She is often actually drawn as well with slightly darker skin. She has been in animated things as well, like this right here. This is a comic where she has, a little bit darker skin. You might still be able to say she's white. I'm not really sure. She could be played by, even a Latina woman, a Middle Eastern or Indian actress, what have you, right? And we'll get to my official take on this in a moment. I'm building to all of this because these kind of things were huge issues for me until I came across this article. I do not care about this. A short history of the black Catwoman. I had no idea about this. I knew about Halle Berry playing Catwoman, and everyone hated that movie for many different reasons. Wasn't because she was a black actress, but I'm not going to go through this entire article, but you're more than welcome to read through it yourself. But this opened up my eyes to the reality that with Catwoman's original on-screen portrayal of her appearing, oh wait, here we are. She was black in the Adam West. Now, yes, a white woman did play her as well at some point. I say a white woman because I'll be honest with you, I don't give a shit about the Adam West Batman stuff. Sorry. I know a lot of people love that stuff. It's way too campy and stuff for me to give a shit about. But people that are fans of it, congratulations, have fun. The actress that played Catwoman in the Adam West Batman series was black. I had no idea about this. And I especially had no idea, and I guarantee you the people that cry about this race swapping stuff don't want you to think about this at all. 25 times, white actors played people of color, and no one really gave a shit. This was what really blew my mind and made me realize, oh shit, this kind of stuff has always been happening the other way around for a really long time. This was written in 2016. Now, I'm going to be real with you. I'm not going to bother going through all of this entire article because it's not really important. I mean, they're kind of just making the same points that I'm already saying here, although they give actual statistics and stuff, which is fine. That's great. They talk about Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch. Yeah, another thing that I had an issue with because I wanted these characters to look like how they did in the comics. Another issue I would have had, I should say, I don't now, but I would have had it, was the woman that or the girl, I should say, that is going to be playing Annabeth, I think her name is. Now, I want to point this out too. I talk about how things being appropriate to the source material is important to me. None of these people look anything like they do in the show. Or, sorry, Percy Jackson is a book, and let me just find book, image, characters. I'm not sure quite how to phrase this, but in the book, yeah, okay. So in the book, we actually have the characters, images of the characters here. This is actually a really good one. Let's compare these two. Oh, this is based off of the original, how they actually looked when Rick Riordan drew them. I think he drew them, or at least that officially appeared in his book. But if nothing else, I want to see if I can find original, not fan-made stuff. Well, in any case, you get the idea, generally speaking. Annabeth officially looks like this. She's actually written as and explained to be blonde with gray eyes, it's going to be tough to find someone with gray eyes, right? Percy clearly has darker hair. It's also straighter, all these different things, right? He also has blue eyes, yada, yada, yada. If people were getting annoyed at the fact that this actress, who I'm sure will do a perfectly fine job, doesn't look like this caricature, I can understand that. But that's not why people were getting mad. Let me see if I can find, what is her name? All right, we'll just do this, I guess. People were getting mad that she looked like this in the original, which were awful, by the way, Percy Jackson movies. She was played by this Alexandra Daddario, I think it's pronounced. And now she's being played by this actress, which, by the way, where did they go? Now she's being... Where did they go? Whoops, I made them go away. Oh, here they are. And now she's being played by this actress, Annabeth. So she went from looking like this, and this is what she officially looks like. She looked like... I keep doing it. Where is it? She looked like this in the original live-action Percy Jackson movie, and now she's being played by this actress. Do either of these look like this? No. Since the beginning of this character's reinterpretation into other media, she has not looked anything like she originally did. People are not getting angry saying, oh, she doesn't look like she did this. They're saying she doesn't look like her. You also, by the way, don't have people complaining about this guy, this kid being Percy. You don't have people complain about him being Percy, and you don't have people complaining about this kid being Grover. All I know about this kid, by the way, is he was in The Adam Project. Good movie, by the way. But I don't know anything about either of these two. Sorry, that's not what this is about. It's not. I'm not focusing on these guys specifically or anything like that. But my point is, this concept of artistic liberties taken and white people playing people of color, even real life people of color, like all of these examples, have been in media for a long time. So for people to get so up in arms about race swapping is very hypocritical. And I don't mean to be the type of person that just points out hypocrisy as if that itself is an own, because quite honestly, it's not. But as you go through and you see these people, you see these characters, and then you see the white people that portrayed them, you can see this kind of thing has been an issue for a long time. So why do people get so up in arms when this happens the other way around? Because conservatives love to push this agenda. There's this agenda, you might be familiar with it, called the Great Replacement. They love to push this idea that Hollywood and the elites, which is already JQing, and all kind of stuff, the people in power, as it were, are hell-bent on making the current minorities the majority and taking away power from white people and all this other fear-mongering bullshit. And it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it is a fear that these people have. So that is why you get people disingenuously making claims like this. Now, this is my take. You've seen me accidentally click on this tab a few times. I want to talk about another recent example of this, where we have the actress Rachel Zegler is going to be playing Snow White. Now, again, let's get it out of the way. Beautiful young woman. I'm sure she will do a great job playing Snow White. That's great. That's fine. As I understand it, part of the reason of Snow White's character, her name actually being Snow White, is that she is super fair-skinned. I would think that that might be an important part of her character. Maybe it isn't, though. With these properties, artistic liberties are allowed to be taken. So if you want to take a character like Snow White and change her around a bit, that's fine. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with doing any of these kind of things. And by the way, here, she looks pretty white to me. Here, I'll put this in a new thing so that hopefully I'm not covering up too much. Okay, yeah. So she looks pretty, yeah. You get the idea. But my take on this is that, quite frankly, it doesn't matter. When movies, TV shows, anything. Oh, by the way, another really big example I had with this was Starfire being played by a black woman as well in the live-action Titans series. When, she's always been an orange alien anyway, so what difference does it make what race the character is portrayed as? But these are things that, annoyed me. These are things that, and what was the key that led to me being more open to and accepting of these ideas, to the point where now I just say artistic liberties are going to be taken all the time. That's just how it is. The key, the biggest key was that specific article that I read about the 25 times that this has happened the other way around, which, again, is completely valid. But people will always get up in arms about these kind of things for a multitude of reasons, and it isn't. Again, a lot of it really does just come back to fear. But my take, because people will say the same kind of thing, you'll have things like, people will say the same thing. Progressive people will get up in arms when people of color, fictional people of color, are played by white people. My take on that is that, honestly, especially if they're fictional, I don't think it matters. I do think that if we are going to truly strive for equality and understand that race is a concept more so than it is a real thing, I think it does follow that at least eventually we should get to the point of realizing and accepting that if race isn't an integral part of somebody's character, it really shouldn't matter if they're played by somebody who is a different race. It just shouldn't matter. Now, I will still argue for things like hair color and stuff like that, because look, anyone can wear a wig, anyone can have their hair dyed, I do think that's at least important. You can't change your race, but anyone can have, any different hair colors. So I do think that should still be a thing. I still want to see if MJ in the MCU is going to be eventually Mary Jane. I do want her to actually have red hair, but that's me, But my point on all of this is that I think at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. As long as characters embody the spirit and do a good job playing their role, none of the rest really matters. I mean, again, there are always going to be artistic liberties taken with adaptations. And that's just something that we have to accept. And don't get me wrong, your versions of these characters that you know and love so much aren't going anywhere. Oh, and real quick, by the way, if anyone thinks that something like Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury was race swapping, no. That came from the Ultimate comic for Samuel L. Jackson is actually, sorry, where Nick Fury actually looks like Samuel L. Jackson. Intentionally, by the way. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. My point is, artistic liberties are always taken when adaptations are made. And I think that as long as the original still exists and you are able to see the original, if I want to see classic redhead Mary Jane, if I want to see classic blonde Black Canary, blonde hair, blue eye, white skin, Black Canary, I can. They're in the comics. They're in the animated series I grew up watching. They're in other movies and all other properties. If these characters are cast as Asian people or Middle Eastern people or whatever it might be, great. It doesn't matter. The versions that I know of these characters aren't going anywhere. And that's one of the important things to realize. the versions of these characters that you know and love aren't going anywhere. Now, maybe if they actually start to get replaced, like in the comics or something, I can understand that being cause for concern. But adaptations are going to be adaptations. And none of the things in comics or any media, for that matter, is consistent anyway. It's always changing, especially comics. God, they're crazy. Very difficult to keep up with. I only recently started getting into them, and it's been a wild ride so far already. But again, the ultimate point is that adaptations will happen. And when they happen, artistic liberties will be taken in order to adapt these characters, these stories, these whatever, for a modern audience. If race is one of those things that gets changed, then so be it. Maybe gender is something that gets changed in the future. Sexuality. I don't know. Does it really make that much of a difference if somebody like Spider-Man is actually Spider-Woman, or if Spider-Woman is gay or trans or non-binary or anything? I don't know. In fact, something that Stan Lee talked about doing a lot was where he would take characters and reimagine them, be it his own characters or DC's characters or anything. He would reimagine them as like, what if Batman was black? What if Batman was poor? What if Spider-Man was gay? What if he was what if he was a she? All these different things, right? So this idea of more progressive takes in media and stuff is not really anything new. Now, Stan Lee does also have a quote that I want to point out, and I'll leave you with because I understand it can be contradicting. And let's see, Stan Lee. Let's see. So this is from The Guardian, and this is a quote that people do take with Stan Lee. And I want to point this out because people like to talk about how he said he would reimagine people. But there is also this quote. It has nothing to do with being anti-gay or anti-black or anti-Latino or anything like that, he said. Latino characters should stay Latino. Black Panther should certainly not be Swiss. I just see no reason to change that which has already been established when it's so easy to add new characters. I say create new characters the way you want to. Hell, I'll do it myself. That, I'll do it myself, is where he goes into that, of course, The Guardian won't talk about. But that is where he goes into how he would reimagine these characters as other types of characters. I know this entire discussion has been a little bit long-winded. This entire breakdown of that article and everything it led to has been a little bit long-winded, and for those of you that have stuck around, I greatly appreciate it. I hope genuinely that if you did enjoy this, that you leave it a like if you liked it, and if not, I hope you found something to do like. If there's anything you want me to talk about in the future, any feedback you have on this or my kind of take on this or anything like that, please let me know in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. I have a Twitter, and I post on it and comment and such every now and then. I'm trying to get more active on it, but I don't know, man. Quite honestly, I use Reddit more than I use Twitter, but I don't really know if I can just like plug my Reddit. So, but yeah, sure, follow me on Twitter. And yeah, if you like this, definitely subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. And that's everything. Just keep an open mind. And while it's understandable that you could have a knee-jerk reaction to just things being different than how you originally know them to be, that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. Just keep an open mind and should be all right. Anyway, that's all from me, guys. Later, everyone. Peace and love.